And welcome back to In This Corner. We just spoke with the one and only Pat Miletich, the Croatian sensation. Well, let's keep it kind of European here as we bring in the man they call El Guapo, 7-year MMA veteran, 6-year Pancrase veteran, 2-time king of Pancrase, UFC heavyweight champion, UFC Hall of Famer. You've seen him in a ton of movies, TV shows, video games. This guy's been everywhere. And, of course, the longtime host of Inside MMA. It's got to be Bas Rutten. Bas, how are you, my friend?
We're doing awesome.
That's
very
what I
good.
like to hear.
Loving life. Yeah, that's a good thing.
That is a very good thing at this point in time, for sure. There's a reason why all these shows are popping up, like my own. That, of course, being that we've had to change the way we broadcast a little bit. A lot more remote type of broadcasting here. And, of course, the coronavirus is the culprit. How have you been handling this whole situation, the pandemic, and how's life in California? What's going on?
Well, they're very nervous here in California, right? So they try to keep you away. And I can understand it. But I said this 6 weeks ago. I don't think it's worse than the flu. So, and I was crazy, and now it comes out. It's funny how that goes. What I've been doing for the last 6 weeks now, I've been streaming workouts every morning at 10 a.m. throughout to the world, and we have this core group of people. Every single country they contact us and they love it. So we figured we just keep on doing it 5 days a week. Tomorrow's Q&A, and on Sunday I have my students stretching people and recouping. So that's what keeps me busy.
No doubt about it. Now, I know one of your old students, Mr. Jamie Tony. It's a good man. I like that guy. Really nice guy.
I was just talking about Tony Ferguson. You know that Jamie is the only person who stopped Tony Ferguson. He triangle choked him.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. You're right. I didn't even remember that. That's insane.
I was doing homework. They asked me about the fight, and I was going, and I go, oh, that's right. Jamie freaking triangle choked him a long time ago. And that was the only person. He never got finished before. So, and after that as well. Nice
little nugget right there as we get ready for 249. That's going to be very entertaining. Bas, you've had so many roles in this sport, and I knew that before, but then once I did a little bit more research, I'm like, you've literally been on every side of combat sports, whether it be a fighter, a coach, a commentator, an executive when it came to the IFL, and so many different hats that you've worn. What an awesome life it's been. What do you think at this point? Do you think people recognize you more for? Is it the movies now? Is it UFC? What is it that people stop you the most for, and they're like, oh my God, Bas, I remember when you did this. I remember when you did that. What is it?
When I was doing the TV show with Kevin James, Kevin Can't Wait, the people started stopping me because of that. And before, I would say it's either fighting or it's my crazy street fighting DVD, that clip that they made online where they took all the sound effects. It's a 1 hour and 45, actually pretty gnarly DVD. And they took all the sound effects, which I never knew that I made, and they put it all in the 4-minute clip. It's hilarious. That clip actually got me 90% of my jobs. I mean, I worked for Cartoon Network, video games, whatever. 90% of the jobs all come from that clip. So that clip and acting, and otherwise fighting. But now I've been acting for a bit, so it's mostly like fighting on that clip.
What's that business like? The acting business. They say very, very, very cutthroat, very competitive. What's your experience been like dealing with the Hollywood life and the acting life?
It is hard. It's like, for instance, when I did Here Comes the Boom, I got raving reviews, like from really big companies. They say, oh man, a new breakout star, we got Bas Rutten, he did an incredible job. So everybody's happy, we're going, oh, boom, William Morris, and they wanted me, and we go there, and there's all these meetings, and they were, let's try to do something. But then the movie, when it doesn't do as well, suddenly everything gets on the back burner, and then you're one of the people again. And, that's how it goes in this world. I never count on it. It will be great if it is, but I do speaking engagements, I do other stuff. I got my gym, I sell the O2 trainer, the long trainer. I do all those kind of things. And if it comes, that will be great, but I'm not really focusing on it.
What's your relationship like with Kevin James? It seems like, when I look up and down that filmography, you've done so many great things with him. Here Comes the Boom. And then, oh gosh, it's slipping in my mind right now. Paul Blart, Mall Cop, Kevin Can Wait. What kind of relationship have you struck up with him over the years? Is it something where he was a big fan of your fighting and then contacted you, or how did that all come about?
Well, I met him when within 3 months when I was in the States, because he found out I was there. That was the first season of The King of Queens. I remember visiting him at his 1-bedroom apartment that he shared with his brother. You see what I mean? Across the studios, yeah. And the great thing about Kevin is he's exactly the same guy as he was then and now. And now he's got all the fame, he's got all the money, and he got all these things, but he's exactly the same guy, brings the same people around him to every movie that I was still from the set from the King of Queens. The makeup girls, the sales.
Very loyal.
Very loyal guy. We've been friends for 22 years, and he's been, he's a very close friend, very good guy.
Here Comes the Boom is a very underrated movie. It's a fun movie, especially if you're in the sport and you just want to have a good time. It's a good time. That being said, let's go way, way, way back, and let's talk about Pancrase a little bit. Two-time king of Pancrase. I think I'm right about that. Three-time.
3 times. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. There it is. You got me. That being said, I should just cut this out and rerun this, and we'll just edit it, and I'll sound a lot better. But that's okay. It's totally all right. Now, Pancrase, and this is something I haven't dug down this rabbit hole a lot, to be honest with you. That being said, they describe it as hybrid wrestling.
Yeah.
Okay. For somebody that doesn't know a whole lot about it, if you're just trying to describe it to any person on the street, how would you describe Pancrase and what it was at that time?
It's, I always say they were tailor-fit for the Japanese fighters. Japanese fighters really good with leg locks, really good submission game, striking a little less. Okay, let's get them with shoes. Let's put them, that's great for leg locks. The shin guards and knee protection for the striking. Open hand strikes, not with a glove, but open hand, because now it's easy to slip in chokes and go for submissions, and it takes the power out of the punches. So close fist everywhere except the face. Kicks everywhere was legal. Knees to the face. Elbows were not. Elbows they didn't have. The great thing, what I really liked about Pancrase was the rope escapes. And I know that sounds really good. It's almost like pro wrestling. That's why sometimes people said, it's probably fixed, because it looked like pro wrestling. But if I, for instance, would get a person in a choke, but that person could touch the rope, I had to let him go. Now, the great thing that comes with that is that I believe from Pancrase all the way back, I think 6 of the guys from our group all became UFC champions because our level was so high. For instance, I won 14 fights by way of submission, but for real, I think I had 53 submissions because with rope escapes. So the rope escapes also make you think different. So because now if I go for a takedown, I want to drag that person to the center of the ring, of course, because then he can't touch the rope, and then we'll go for a submission. The downside of that is that if I miss a submission, I get reversed. Now I'm in the center of that. You see, so the strategy became different as well. But then also they had 8 counts. So for instance, if you, in the beginning, we were fighting half-hour fights. And let's say that you go the distance in a half hour, but that person had maybe grabbed the rope once, he's going to lose. It's the same as taking an 8 count. Okay, he took the 8 count, the other guys didn't, boom. He's going to lose. It was a 10-8 round, so to say.
Yeah.
And that was for knockouts, and that was for submission. So the greatest thing that I said, again, is like you take somebody down, you submit him, he touches the rope, you restart. So we had a lot of ring time. Every time you get restarted, and you start on the feet again, that's another fight, you see? Sure. So that's why everybody became so seasoned, and that's why I truly believe that 6 of the guys in the early days, that was a lot. 6 guys from one company who all became UFC champions, you see?
Yeah, absolutely. And that leads me to my next question, actually, because by the time you got to the UFC, you kind of had a lot of miles on your body already just from all the Pancrase. And let me ask you this. I mean, you don't seem like a guy that would have a lot of regrets. That being said, do you regret not being able to do more with the company? You obviously got the title. I mean, you went to the Zenith, you went to the Pinnacle. That being said, do you feel like, I know you wanted to get the 2-division champion. I know you were trying to go down and get down to middleweight and get that title. Is there any sort of regrets at that point? Just the injury? I mean, what do you do, right?
Yeah, that is literally what you do. In the beginning, of course, there's a lot of regrets. And now, God gave that to me for a reason, because I would have been the same knucklehead as many of the other great fighters that you saw who kept fighting with injuries and kept getting older and then suddenly start losing. And now you look at records, they had great records, and now they just slaughtered their own records. So now when people look at a guy like that, they say like, oh, I thought he was good, but he lost his last 10 fights. You see, and thankfully for me, the injuries took me out of the games. It forced me to stop. So I didn't lose in my last 22 fights. That's a great way to end a career. But I know that if I wouldn't have had injuries, I would have kept fighting. And eventually, of course, I'm going to lose. I'm like 45 years old. You're going to have a kid who started when he was 10 years old. Now he's 25. Yeah, that's a problem because they can go 2 times a day full power. But once you go over 40, 45, you really get 4 times a week. You can work out really hard, and the rest you got to take it easy. Otherwise, the body doesn't recoup anymore.
Does it frustrate you when you see a guy that obviously has this incredible run, this, champion, et cetera, and they do keep fighting and they keep fighting, and you see those losses? Is that something internally that kind of frustrates you? Do you want to reach out and say, hey, stop? Or is it, there's a lot of people that say, how do you tell a fighter to stop fighting? If they want to keep making money, if they want to keep doing their thing, who are you to tell them? How do you sit on that?
Yeah, that's exactly what you said. You know what? You can look at Fedor, right? Look at Vanderlei Silva. Look at Ken Shamrock. And Ken just keep on fighting. And I talked to him about this. I said, why do you? I said, Bas, I just love it. I love the competition. I just want to keep doing it. Hey, listen, do it. If you love to do it, that's your life, and then do it. But you tarnish your career. Now, if people look back on your record, they're gonna go, "Whoa, Will's dangerous, man." You know how people are. They're just horrible people. So that I feel bad about, because he was such a freaking athlete. But then age, we unfortunately all get
and he's still competing to this day, doing professional wrestling. It's wild. I mean, the guy just keeps on going. Got to talk about the IFL. So we had Pat Miletich on just a little bit earlier. He was a big part of the IFL. You obviously were a huge part of the IFL. Me personally, as a fan, I love the IFL. I love the concept of it. I love the teams. What do you think really led to the IFL kind of fading away? Because it seemed like there was some really solid momentum there for a while. Really good stuff.
Yeah, what happened was this. It's they came on, I think it was 2020, the TV show. There was a TV show, one of the 50-50, whatever it was
2020. Yeah.
2020. See, I remember we had a lot of stocks.
Absolutely.
And I had like a deal, which I can't say now, like 380,000 shares. Sure. Those shares went from $1 after that to $12. So I go, I'm a freaking millionaire, right? And what they thought, oh, wait a minute, now we got good money. Let's go to a big office. Yeah, let's pay $25,000 a month instead. Let's get a warehouse and buy this and this. Oh, matchmaker, you matchmaker. Oh, this matchmaker, 6 matchmakers. And everything started just escalating. They start throwing money around. I go, no, keep it contained. Do what you were doing, because that's the formula to success. But look at the success you have. I just thought they believed that they had the golden egg right now, and then they overdid it and hired too many people, and money got lost. Unfortunately, because I loved it, indeed, what you said, state versus state. How cool was that, Yeah. Oh, if I think about it, that could have been really big.
Do you think that the concept still can work to this day? You think possibly?
If it would come as a new thing, 100%, but maybe because it was already done before, you know how people are. They're going to go, oh, it's tried before, and because they hear that, they already cancel out right away.
It is really, yeah, it is so hard, and I know you probably noticed this as well, and we're about to talk about working on Inside MMA, and of course, all the great promotions that we've seen. It's amazing what they do around the world. That being said, it doesn't seem like any show can really, even get into the lexicon, get into the household name like the UFC has. Nobody can really get that grasp. I like Bellator to a point, but I still to this day don't think that they've ever really captured that. As many guys as they've brought back and as many gimmicks as they throw at it, nothing ever seems to catch on. Do you think somebody can actually get in there and do that eventually? Or is it too far gone now?
Yeah, I think it's too far gone. I do, well, maybe not. Maybe, but you know what? They have all the power as well if they want. I always said, if somebody would come, like Mark Cuban for a moment, he wanted to do it. And I go, oh, here we go. Because if he would have been smart, you're going to lose a lot of money in the beginning. But if you're just going to pay these people like crazy amounts of money, they will come to you eventually. If you pay them double than that they get in the UFC, trust me, when the contract is over, they're going to go to the other company. And I thought if they should have done that early on, maybe like somebody, a billionaire, like a Mark Cuban, and then just keep pushing money out, and then eventually after years, because you're going to have to invest a lot of money because those fighters are still under contract. Now they're going to be special clauses in there because if they realize, hey, that money goes up, they're going to put that in the contract. You know how it goes. That I think they could have done. they could have done well, but now I think it's too late. I think the UFC just did a phenomenal job. They put
It is. It's a machine.
It is. And, if you have over 37 shows a year, they overflown it because you don't even have time anymore to watch the other shows. Not if you're a person like me who's got a lot of jobs on the side. I can't watch everything. I have to watch recorded so I can fast forward to everything. Don't see the entrances, just watch the fight, and then I can watch a show. But otherwise, it's just a very hard thing to.
It's frustrating because, I'm the same way. I have people ask me all the time, and I'm doing commentary and for 4 or 5 different shows, and they say, well, are you going to watch the UFC this weekend? And I say, no. I mean, MMA is my life. I don't want to watch MMA when I get home. I want to see my kids. I want to do other things I enjoy. So I totally understand that. And it is so, you hate to say oversaturated because it is though. I mean, there's so much of it. And there was a time where you got to know everybody on the roster. In your 2007, 2008, 2009 to 2013, probably you knew everybody. And now you just don't know half the guys. It's tough.
Yeah, if you look at the card right now, and the card has passed, and then you go like, oh, there's a lot of names on there that you don't recognize. They're going to have to fight their ways up, and they're already on the main card, some of them. They're just completely new. So, yeah, it's tough for a fighter also to make a name and make money, So, I don't know if they did that. Reebok redid that Reebok thing. I hope they're going to do that, because that's a lot of fighters want to go to Bellator just because of that. So. But I think they will. I think they will step away from it, and hopefully that's going to be much better for the fighters. Can make some extra money. It's always good.
A lot of years on Inside MMA, boss. My goodness. How many years was it total? How many years?
431 shows.
That's incredible. It is. It's mind-blowing, and I'll be honest with you, it was your show, Inside MMA, that eventually led to myself and my co-host, Casey Oxenine, doing MMA Inside the Cage, which we had our own show, and we were covering a lot of international events the same way you were, obviously on a little bit lower platform than Axis, but we got some syndication, but we always looked to that product on Inside MMA because we loved that you were covering all these different shows that nobody was giving, a listen to or giving an eye to. So many great highlights over the year. Talk about just the experience. What an awesome show. Kenny was fantastic. You guys had such great chemistry, incredible. Talk about the show.
It truly is. It's like a family. Like I'm still with Kenny, with his dad. I speak every 2-3 weeks. I call him. His mother unfortunately passed away, so I try to keep up. And to call him on certain days. With Kenny, the same thing. We still see if we can visit. Actually, before the show, we were talking already about in Tennessee, how great it is because it's close to Kentucky.
Yep.
And I already said, hey, we're going to go there for the Kentucky Derby, which is going to come. It's going to be postponed now, but we're going to go for the Kentucky Derby, and then we automatically come to Tennessee and check that state out because my wife loves the state where you live in.
Yeah.
So we still have a great contact. So Ron Kroc, the same thing. Everybody, we will go out to Japan. We would play bowling together. We would go out to dinner. It was really like a big family. And we just had a really great time. And I think that people could simply see that, and that's why I think it caught on. We also were the first one. A lot of people came right after us and tried to do it. But the same as with the UFC, I think if you put a good product out there right away from the get-go, it's very hard for other people, to go to something else because if they see a quality product, now if it would have sucked, then a better product comes up and boom, they adhere to that, so to say. So I think being the first, Mark Cuban had a great vision of doing it, and well, he fulfilled it. I mean, 9 years, 431 shows. That was a lot of shows. And then we also did the fighting, the commentary, in the beginning for Strikeforce, for Japan, the Pride Fighting Champ. We were doing all that as well on top of the show itself. So we've been traveling a lot. We've spent thousands of hours together.
Yeah, I was talking to Pat Miletich, and he was saying the exact same thing. Of course, all the time he spent with Michael Chiavello and the entire Axis TV Fights crew. I had the pleasure of being on the XFC broadcast, and I was doing ring announcing for them, and I always loved the way you covered them. And I think it just made the world more accessible as far as showing those highlights and showing that there's a wide world of mixed martial arts out there because even to this day, people say, I do fights in UAE for Abu Dhabi, and I do fights in South Africa, and they say, they do fights down there? I'm like, they do fights in every country almost every weekend. Yep. That's how much this sport is blown up. I mean, it's literally everywhere. In Russia, you may have 6 fights every weekend, 40 fights in the U.S. It's pretty amazing that and I think you guys really helped to kind of blossom that out there and kind of create some awareness and I think it did a lot for the sport. What do you think?
Yeah, we got so much great reviews about those. Exactly what you said. You know, all around the world, people would send in their highlights from the small shows, from
Yeah.
Sweden, from England, I mean, wherever it came from, or from the Middle East. You know, and these people were so happy if they were going to be on TV so their show was promoted. So it worked for everybody, and I think it was also better for the UFC because if you have a show that there's some few award shows out there, but 95% all goes to UFC fights. UFC.
Of course.
You know, you don't have a chance. But if once you start also paying attention to other shows, that makes the UFC actually better. You know, because but always they think it's not, but it is. Competition is actually good for you, and I think that that was the biggest thing with Inside MMA. We paid attention, like you said, to everybody who was out there, and we had some crazy interviews. I mean, we did some crazy hardcore interviews with people, and for Kenny, right? Kenny doesn't hold his mouth if he doesn't need to hold his mouth, so that's controversy. Suddenly we get it. I remember Ben Askren when he got all completely crazy because
I remember. Yes.
Oh, stop this! You come off the soapbox, and who couldn't say that? But you see, that was kind of cool because everybody was, shit, what happened there? So they tuned in again. The whole April Fool's thing that I did with Bisping, Michael Bisping, that was hilarious because I knew when it fell on a Friday. And were live on Friday. It's the first guy I thought about. I go, Bisping, man. I said, at first I wanted to do it for real. So didn't let him in on it. But I know him that he will go to town if I do that also, you know, and he might, you know. So I called him and I said, listen, I'm going to mess with you. What's the worst thing that I can say? It's the spitting incident probably, right? He said, oh, yeah, don't do that. I said, no, well, I will do that. Because don't go crazy right away. Let's build this slowly but surely up. And it was hilarious. I got so many phone calls around the world. People go like, dude, that looked like it was real. Even though when he pulled out the paper saying April Fools, they still thought it was real.
Oh, of course. Yeah. If all they watch is that first part, then yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, you know, you covered so many crazy events, but was there anything crazier than the event myself and my business partner brought to you? The Hip Show Arena Combat 2-on-2 fighting on the obstacle course. I know you guys did the interview with us via satellite, and we had a 2-hour special on Access TV. Do you remember it? And was it the craziest thing you saw?
It was the craziest thing, but they did something like that in Russia too, right?
No,
like,
it was the Russian product, and then we brought it to the States as well.
You know, that is, yeah. I was waiting for something bad's gonna happen in this, right? You know, because one guy's bitch. What do we always say in the street fight? You don't want to go to the ground because his partner maybe can kick your head in. Well, that was gonna happen, you know, eventually. So I'm happy nobody got seriously.
No, nobody got seriously hurt. You know, we actually, that 2-hour special, I believe we actually made from Russian fights. And then we ended up doing an event in the States. I think there was 3 events that were done. Nobody got hurt though. Everybody had a lot of fun. It actually got sanctioned in South Carolina. Who knew? But we had a lot of fun with it. Do you like when fights kind of throw those gimmicks in there and they try to rework the wheel a little bit?
Yeah, I love it. You know, what is the crazy thing that they have in Italy? You know, where like 100 against 100. It's like an arena, and they all freaking start fighting each other. You see, that is fun stuff. But you know, it's until somebody gets hurt, and that's when everything goes down the drain. I remember all the way back. We remember with the person from the UFC. I remember they were interviewing him. His name is letting me go, but it'll pop up in a bit. And they asked him, well, what if somebody dies? And he goes, that would actually be really good for us for the numbers. And I go like, dude, that you can't say that. You know, you said it. You know, I go,
say that.
they're gonna get a lot of heat, but no, they got bigger and bigger. Well, actually, they got worked against a lot until, of course, the Ultimate Fighter. I think that really changed the whole thing. That made, first of all, it made Spike and it made the UFC because once Forrest had that fight with Forrest Griffin and Stefan Bonner.
Yeah, of course.
The barn burner. I mean, that was the next show. They were having 500, 600,000 pay-per-view buys. You see,
of course.
80,000 or 90,000 suddenly to over $500,000. Boom. Oh, man, what a moment that would have been. Can you imagine you're involved with the company, you pumped in $40, $50 million, you lost your shirt. Hey, let's do it what the contender does, but let's do it with MMA and let's make it smarter. Let's put an open kitchen in there with alcohol because
buddy.
And bada bing, bada boom, man, genius. And,
well, and those two men, Bonner and Griffin, were our first guests here on this TV show, and they were amazing. And I think everybody realizes what they did for this sport. Final thing, man, I'm gonna let you go here. We've covered a lot quickly, which I love. I had an interview with Tank Abbott that went a lot longer. I think we covered three topics, maybe. I think we've gotten through about 12 now. Who are the fighters that still pique your interest right now? Because you've seen so much. The heavyweight divisions, it's iffy. It seems like it's starting to get a little bit better, more colorful characters again, which is kind of nice. What sort of fighters kind of pique your interest at this point?
You know, the guys who stand out. Like from the early days, you look at the Sakuraba, doing all those crazy things, that Mongolian judo chop and the weird moves that he's doing. Is it going to work? No, but it's a great distraction and boom, boom, boom. And he was really good to back it up. Guys like that. Suddenly you got TJ Dillashaw, who moves like crazy. Dominic Cruz, who moves.
Yeah, of course.
You know, people who are doing different than other people. I always tell my students, you know, I say, for instance, a southpaw, if you throw right hook and left uppercut, right hook, right? It's a very effective combination, but you never see it in orthodox. So I pay attention to those things. It's just like, focus. I don't know, man. What is piquing the interest?
Yeah, just for you. I mean, what really gets you up? Like, who are the fighters?
Guys like Michael Venom Page, guys like
awesome.
Adesanya, guys who are fighting out completely different and beat people with it. Jon Jones still, but I would like to, you know, it's almost like he is listening too much to the audience now. I wish that he outside the ring, that he's outside the cage is going to clean up, but I've been asking that a long time. I can't keep him protected anymore. You know, he's got to be the wise up right now. He needs to do it. But a guy like that has so much talent, you know, and to see a guy blossom like that. I did a demonstration with him on a video all the way in the IFL, the International Fight League. Hey, can we use, who wants to go with me in a little video clip for the IFL? And it was Jon Jones. I mean, he was such a nice guy, you know, to see him going from there to become this megastar. Still TJ Dillashaw, you know, the way he moves. But everybody, the main event now.
Gaethje.
Of course, it's the second, the co-main event.
Yeah, Ferguson and Gaethje. Yeah.
And of course, at a co-main. Whoa, that is weird. Okay, Ferguson. For instance, Ferguson. That's the guy, right? Right now, having stamina and just keep on pushing and be completely crazy. But now he faces the guy Gaethje, who I've been talking to for a long time, that he had to change his fighting style, right? Because he takes too much damage. But
a lot of damage.
I said, eventually he's going to catch up. Boom, he got knocked out twice. He wised up, and now he became a more calculated fighter with the same power, same heart, same everything. You see, I love it when that happens to a fighter. Of course, I wish it would have happened without the knockouts, but you know, he needed those knockouts to start blossoming again and to tweak his fighting game and to listen to Trevor Whitman, his corner, because he's a phenomenal coach, and now he's actually doing everything that Trevor is telling him. So I think that is that's going to be a barn burner.
What about Khabib's game? You like Khabib?
Oh, I love him. And then because people always say, oh, he's so boring. He stops it. He stops people. He's not boring to me, you know.
Not boring at all.
When you write it out and you win like that, not him. He's stopping people. So you cannot complain about a person who stops people. Right? But
agreed.
Most of the time when they ask who is the fighter that you're most interested in, it's such a hard question right now. Like a Max Holloway. You know, I love a guy like that. You know, that's the Chuck Liddell. You bang, whatever happens, we're gonna go, dude. You know, I love when people have that attitude, and there's so many of them right now. It's a hard question because you're so afraid that you forget really big names like Rosenstruck right now, the guy that's going to fight against Ngannou.
Yeah, incredible.
You know, that's going to get that's going to go to a knockout. Well, that we thought that would happen with Derek Lewis also.
You can never make that prediction. It usually backfires every time. Bas, it has been an absolute pleasure. I hope you're doing well out there. Continue to make those movies. Get another Kevin James project going on. We love it.
Perfect. Yeah, I was supposed to do something early this year. It didn't happen because they got pushed to next year, which I'm happy with now because of the whole COVID-19
Of course,
thing. But if that would happen, that movie, and I'm still in, which I believe I am, because I talked to the director, that would be a good one for me. I can't say what it is, but it's a number 2 of something, and the first one did really well. So, and that's not comedy. I'm going to be badass. So it's going to be,
That's not a far stretch. Thank you so much, Bas, for your time, and we'll see you down the road, my friend.
All right, brother. Thank you. Godspeed.
There it is. And there he is, El Guapo, Bas Rutten. Folks, it's been a fun episode. Pat Miletich, Bas Rutten, so much fun. And we got plenty more to come as every episode comes here on In This Corner. I'm Cyrus Fees. See you next time.